but if the house was overpriced, how do you price it when relisting it? Oh, it's from Didi. What's up, Didi? Thanks for listening on the LabCoatAgents side. So the way that we do it is, this is where we bring in the data, right? So we bring in the data, and this is why we're all supplying it to you as well, right? Not only is it on RedX, but it's out there and we've collected it for you. So what we do is we bring in data and say, hey, look, this is where our current local market is. And this is where it's estimated to go based on everything that's happening. I think the coolest part, click on the little sandwich button, scroll down, you can see your members, all the events, but the mini master classes, that's what's going to set this apart, along with the master classes that are coming. But now you can click on the mini master class that you like. It's broken down into sections. You've got the process here. You can scroll down, watch the video if you want. They're not very long. They're about 5 minutes each. And you can go and click on the PDF, and there you have all the notes for that specific mini master class. To me, we want to talk about how to get listings in this market, which should be a ton of information because it's a lot easier, man. Just I felt like it was just a few months ago, we couldn't get listings. And now we can get listings.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We're back. We had a nice long Memorial Day weekend. Dude, Robert, what'd you do, man?
Man, I did chores all weekend, but I liked it. I mowed my lawn right before it rained for a day and a half. And I felt like I won the lottery, right? Because everyone else was like, oh man. So I just stood there and looked at it for the whole 3-day weekend. Was like, look how awesome my lawn looks.
That's awesome, dude. That's cool. I chilled and caught up with a lot of stuff. So, and I thought, believe it or not, I wrote out like, what else can our team do to get even more listings, right?
There we go.
And so I outlined some things. And the very first thing that I came up with, because I mean, I've been in business for almost 20 years. And so we've seen a lot of cycles. And Jake, by the way, who's running this on the back end, has been with me for about 7 or 8. Dude, I don't remember anymore, Jake. How long have you been with me, buddy? Like 10? 9?
8 or 9.
We don't even know. We've just been together for such a long time. He's like my best buddy. All right. And we thought, well, definitely as the market shifts, there's a concern. And this is where we need to be paying attention to our real estate market. There's a concern on the seller's side, and they're thinking, have we peaked?
Yeah.
Like, is this the highest it's going to go, either now, a month ago, or this summer? And as long as we're talking in that language, then we'll be able to connect with them, because now we're thinking along the same lines, right? And now it's like, well, here's what's probably going to happen. Let's be a little bit more educated. Let's take a look at some data. In some areas, the market is a lot lighter, right, in regards to buyers. In some, it's the exact same. Like, it's still hot. But for the most part, a lot of people are starting to think, it's like, where do we go? Do we go up? Do we go down? Should we be worried about foreclosures, the bubble? And so that conversation is a lot easier to have if you're the one that starts it. Look, you probably want to reach out to your database. You probably want to reach out to more, you're going to start seeing more expireds come out.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that. Yeah, I want to talk a lot about that.
Yeah. For sell by owners, won't be as easy to sell in some markets, right? And just remember that this is all regional, right? In some areas, it's going to affect some people a little bit more. In some, they're not going to see much of a change. And I mean, if Miami keeps on staying hot, it's the total opposite, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing, well, what I hope actually is that, especially those agents that have just come on in the last couple of years, that they're tuning in and listening to what you have to say, Tristan, because I've been watching your own messages at LabCoatAgents, and you are talking about looking at data. You're saying, hey, there's a lot of messages out there. The media is piling on, talking about, is the market going to crash? Are we in another housing bubble? And it's putting fear in sellers. It's putting fear in new agents that haven't been through market shifts. And so voices like yours are out there saying, hey, one, been there, done that, right? Like you've been around, other guys that jump on the show, they've been around, they've been through market shifts. And two, because you've been through market shifts, let's look at the actual data of what's going on out there, so that as an industry, as a real estate agent, you can be the expert. And just like you said, you take the narrative to the sellers and buyers of what's actually going on in the market. They're going to look to you naturally and be like, hey, I just saw on the news that the market's going to crash, so I can't sell my house, or interest rates are just going sky high. There's no way I can get it's affordable anymore. Well, be the expert that says, hey, let me tell you what's really going on. Let's really talk about interest rates and historically how they work. And there's a lot more that we can dig into if, as an agent, we are the experts before we reach out to any lead type, especially geo lead types in our database. That we're the expert first. So go to the sources, go to the experts like Tristan and LabCoats, and know what's going on, right?
Well, Robert, I think that's actually the most important point in the market that we're heading into. And regardless if it's now, later, depending on where it's at. But the more informed we are, the more we're able to talk to people. And you can't convince most people over the phone. Like if Robert thinks there's foreclosures happening tomorrow, I can't be like, dude, you're wrong. Right? That is not the way I'm going to win Robert over. Yeah. It's more like, wow, okay, Robert, why do you think that? And then he'll tell you, right? And then you just talk. There's no way I'm going to convince him over the phone that he's totally wrong or right, whichever one, right? Right's a lot easier. But Mark, what's up, Mark?
What's up? Sorry, guys, I had some tech issues. But going off what you just said, it's honestly, I can't agree anymore, because if you just jump off and say, okay, well, thanks for sharing your opinion. Here's mine. No one's going to care. No one's going to care. No one wants to listen to you. And if people don't feel like you identify with them or have anything beneficial to say, and according to what they just said, they're not going to really listen to you. You're off to a bad start.
Yeah, that's true, man. But I think that's where it starts, though, right? Understanding that you have the knowledge, so that if somebody says, you know, it's crazy that we're seeing all of these foreclosures pop up, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I have data that shows the opposite. Let me send that over to you, and then you tell me what you think, right? All of a sudden, you're like, wait a second. You're treating this with actual data versus emotions.
Yeah.
And that's a big challenge, because a lot of people are so emotional. They're so invested in the way that they think, they don't want to think any other way, right? And that's the biggest challenge in real estate in a shifting market, right? And so this is why I love, dude, having that mindset and then just throwing up RedX and being like, okay, I'm going to dial Geo, right? I just got a listing, everyone. I'm going to let everybody know. And then those conversations are going to be what? They're going to go, well, isn't the market kind of tough, right? Aren't we in a shifting market? Yeah. Are prices coming down? That's the conversations they're going to have. So be prepared for that. And then I'm going to be calling expireds, which in our area, we'll probably start seeing a few more. Our area hasn't really softened. I'm in the Los Angeles, Ventura County area. So we're still seeing multiple offers in the millions. So we're probably going to have a pretty decent summer. But for sell by owners aren't going to be as easy to sell either. So it's just slow, man. What about you, Mark? What do you think, man? We're in the same market, by the way. Robert.
Yeah. I did do like a quick little recon on the MLS to kind of see what the difference was from, let's say, 6 to 12 months ago in comparison to now for properties that are under 1.1. And I remember having a conversation with you, Tristan, before. There was about, I think, 23 homes on the market in our area. And just for everyone, that's about a 10 to 15 mile radius, like right in our backyard, right? There's about 23 homes under 1.1. I did do a check over the weekend, and there was 53.
All right, so that's a little bit increase. More.
Yeah,
it's been an increase, but it's still really low.
It's still low, and so I'm going to say two things. One, anecdotally, what we see here in our market is that, before it was literally like 50 people needing a home to every listing, and that has dropped, but it still results in multiple offers, right? So just because it's not 50 to 1, maybe it's 10 to 1. Well, that's still a lot of people looking for one home, right? So we still do see the effects of low inventory that honestly could take years to still catch up, because there's still building going on. There's still a shortage in supply chain. There's still a lot of that we'll continue to see. But the shift in the market is real, and that there are changes happening.
Yep.
And that's where I really want to jump in with a couple like nationwide stats of, especially the people that jumped in as agents in the last couple of years, maybe really haven't gotten the habit of picking up the phone regularly to talk to expireds, because there was the idea that nothing was expiring, right?
Yep.
Or weren't talking to for sale by owners because they thought it's too easy, too soft of a market for sale by owner. They can just sell all day long, so they're not going to listen to me. So there haven't been as many agents jumping in to have those conversations. And now that maybe for sale by owner is going to be a little bit tougher, they need you more than they did a year ago. So this is a great time to talk to for sale by owner. But expireds is where we're seeing the largest uptick. And that's
really,
where I am talking. That's why I want to talk to everybody. If you're a new agent and you haven't picked up the phone to talk expireds, that's a skill you need to get right now before everyone jumps back in. So here's a couple numbers. Through May 28th of 2021, there was 539,000 expired listings. So it's still quite a bit. There ended up being 1.4 million in all of 2021. But what we see now so I pulled all my data last week. So between January 1st and May 28th is 751 and 566 expired listings that have happened so far in 2022. That's a 39% increase year over year.
Dude, that's a lot.
Wow. So if you were thinking, where a lot of people are thinking, oh, the market's so hot, the expireds don't exist. Well, there were 751,000 expireds that was a potential listing for somebody to contact. And somebody did get a hold of them. And if you haven't worked expireds, it wasn't you. and so right now, as that trend is coming back up, we see price decreases again. And we saw that April, and I'm sure as May closes, we'll see that that's another biggest jump since we got into all the COVID mess. That price decreases are happening, but expireds are happening again at nearly a pre-2020 rate. It's getting close there. And so right now is the time to sharpen that skill and start calling those expireds, because that's only on a trend upwards. And by the end of this year, early next year, what the trend is showing is we're going to be back to 2019 levels of expireds. And if you wait until 2023 to start, okay, that sounds like something I should get into, I should probably try it. Well, forget about it. There's already all these guys that have spent the last 6 months really perfecting that and getting back into the practice of being the first on the phone to these expireds that now you're up against. But if you get in now, then you are the expert on talking to expired listings and landing listings through expired leads and FSBO leads, like we mentioned, that has not quite been available for some time.
So let me share some data with you, dude. It goes along with what you're talking about. And I shot this video last week on Wednesday, I think, but it goes off of some Altos research data. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you see, this is a graph that shows price reductions over the last few years. And the dates, the colors of the graphs are right here at the bottom. And the dark red one is our current year. And you can see price reductions are starting early. This is January, February, March, April. We started seeing it start in April because of the interest rates going up, right? Less people could buy, more price reductions. This past week, so 2 weeks ago, we were up 21.7% in price reduction. So 1 out of every 5 homes was having a price reduction that was active on the market. The peak of 2018, it showed that 37%, that's one out of every 3, let's just say, were having a price reduction. We're going to peak a lot sooner and maybe go over that if this continues. right? And that to me, it's really important to showcase that, because now I'm doing price reductions. I'm trying to catch up with a market that may or may not be slowing down depending on where we're at. Or I was so unrealistic about the price I wanted, which is probably more of the case.
Yeah.
I thought prices were going to keep on going up forever, that I was 3 months ahead of that. So now I have to slowly come down and maybe a little bit more. Oh shit, maybe a little bit more, right? And that's why it's important, because those are the people that are going to expire in August, and you're going to be calling them in September and October to get those expired listings from everybody having these price reductions that just never got it right.
Yeah.
That's the important part to that, dude.
Yeah.
Tristan,
I'll go, Mark. I want to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a question in here from Miguel. What is the best time to call and expire listings? Tristan, do you want to answer that? Or you want me to, or Robert?
No, I want to hear you guys, because you guys have been on the phone listening to me.
Yeah. Out here in our area, we can start calling at 8 a.m. and that's typically the best time to start calling. And you kind of want to be one of the first ones in the queue, because you actually may be last if you call at like 8:05, because people are going to be calling quite frequently. And some people actually are a little bit more ambitious and they call before 8. You're not supposed to out here in our area, but around 8 o'clock is a good time to call, in my opinion. Kind of be the first to the punch. What about you, Tristan? What do you think?
Yeah, same thing. We're doing the same thing. And we've also noticed, for doing this such a long time, most agents, they stop calling after the first couple of days, 3 days. So what you want to do is get into a habit of calling over a very long period of time, because a lot of these expireds, they don't list for 3-4 months into it, because they've been dragged through price reduction after price reduction after promises and hopes of selling their home, and then it didn't sell. That's a big emotional, that's a lot to process. And then taking it off the market, they're rethinking it. Do I want to have people come in my home daily? Do I want to continue to have open houses? Do I want to really move now, right? And are we in a position to want to do that again? It's a big emotional shift. So you have to go through that with them for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months sometimes. So be prepared to do this long term. And a lot of that also has to do with data, because I'm going to show you another screen. And this one's a RedX screen, guys. Let's see. I'm right here on the back end. Can you see where it says Vortex Onyx, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm on the back end here. Let's say I go to, who can I go to? Reseda. I used to live in Reseda. Let's go to Lawrence Bloom. So I've got Lawrence here, all of his information. I've got the right numbers to call. It's got a DNC, so you do not call. You don't have to call that one. But here's the cool part. Let's say I get Lawrence on the line. I go to Market Insights, and it's tied to Altos Research here. So I don't have to go look it up, because their first question is like, well, is this a seller's market? Right? What's going on? I was like, well, look, and then you have the stats. You can go into, hey, here's the median price, which is nuts that Reseda is $8.99, by the way, guys. I know you don't know Reseda, but damn. Okay, and then I could be like price per square foot, average days on market in Reseda, right? This is very specific, median days on market. And then I can be like, well, you know what? There's also other stats that I can show you. I can market segment this as well. But this to me is extremely important, because now I actually have real information that I can help our clients with. And I can go to condos too. Is it a seller's market with the condos? It's a little bit less in price. I'll zoom in for you. And then I have more information. And the cool thing is, here's one thing that we do, Robert. I could just snapshot that and text that over to them if they say, hey, can you send that information over to me? But
Yeah.
now I have a conversation with them with data. And you would be surprised that most decisions that are made for most people purchasing and selling homes outside of investors, and even in some case investors, are very emotional. It's an emotional process. And the more they can see their decision being based on data, even though it's still emotional, the more they'll feel comfortable making that decision. So this is why I love showcasing any of that.
And it goes back to where we started about being the expert, right? When they have a question, can you show them real data to answer that question for them? And, for the last 2 years, every one of those charts has said seller's market, price going up, right? And now that we're in a changing market and the changes and shifts are regional, from zip code to zip code, now suddenly these kinds of charts become way more important than they have been when every chart was just going up. Now you can say, hey, in your zip code, we've seen a lot of price reductions. That price reductions are on the way up in your zip code specifically. Well, yeah, but my friend, they sold. Okay, well, where does your friend live? And so you can now all of a sudden by zip code, that Altos data right there that you can access is really valuable in having conversations and being the expert and available on a per lead basis, right? Every lead that you're looking at, it's right there, and you can get into it.
I love that, dude. And then if you want to take it one step further, let's say Mark's calling on RedX. He's calling somebody in Reseda and he's like, "Ooh, that's great information." Now he'd be like, I'm also working with a few other people in Reseda. I'm just going to text them this information.
Yeah.
Because I already have it. Be like, "Hey, here you go, guys. Just wanted to give you some information on the market."
Yep.
And so that's how you kill two birds with one stone and hit your database at the same time, because everybody has a question what's happening next. That's why I started shooting all those videos. Like, what is happening next? Right.
And everyone has an opinion, but it's
I certainly do.
Yeah. But it's people with data that can help. Like you said, okay, we're going to start with emotion and let's share data to help, guide those decisions. It still be based on emotion, but get some more data put in there, which is what you keep doing. That's what I love is I think there's every headline that comes out about what's going to happen in the market, everyone kind of freaks out, and you just got to zone back in. And that's what you've been doing on LabCoats, is just really, hey guys, let's get focused again. Let's look at really what the market's telling us right now, and the activities that we should be doing and that we can keep doing and need to be doing more of. Because we have answers to that right now, but you've got to dig a little deeper than the headlines to understand that.
That's true, man.
Why
That's
not
true.
share these graphs and these stats on social?
Oh yeah.
That's true, man. Mark, what are you going to be shifting towards, man, in regards to reaching out to more people to get listings?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One big thing that will be happening with myself, the team, as well as the ISAs, is shifting towards Geoleads and circle prospecting more, cranking that up and making it a bit more on the front lines.
Nice, dude. So reaching out to them saying, "Hey, we just got this listed. We just sold this," along those lines.
Dude, yeah, but then also too, taking it a step further. Let's say, for example, it's just a listing in general, saying, "Hey, I don't know if you know what there's a property that just got listed in your neighborhood," or, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but this is property that just sold in your neighborhood." Not saying that it's ours, of course, if it's not, but kind of opening the conversation there with, "Did you know that there's a property here? There are leftover buyers for the right price, and it made sense," so on and so forth.
Got it. I like that.
And I see some chatter in some of the chat talking about several expireds that are expiring because they can't find a place to live. That's another strategy you can use when you're geofarming. You get on Geoleads, and if someone says, "Man, I would sell my house. I even have a buyer for my house if I knew where I could live." Well, you can say, "Where do you want to live? What kind of home are you looking for?" You can use the filters in Geoleads and say, "I'm going to call a couple houses for you and see if and get on the phone and say, I have a buyer for your exact kind of house. Have you thought about selling?" Right. And so it's like this reverse use of Geoleads, that you can use the same technology to help a potential buyer or seller, where you then now you're going to help facilitate them selling their home that they want to do, but they don't know where to live, and help them buy another home. And so real good opportunity in using Geoleads.
Jake brings up a good question, and I don't know if this one's from Facebook or where Jake got it from, but if the house was overpriced, how do you price it when relisting it? Oh, it's from Didi. What's up, Didi? Thanks for listening on the LabCoatAgents side. So the way that we do it is, this is where we bring in the data, right? So we bring in the data, and this is why we're all supplying it to you as well, right? Not only is it on RedX, but it's out there and we've collected it for you. So what we do is we bring in data and say, "Hey, look, this is where our current local market is. And this is where it's estimated to go based on everything that's happening. Now, we can certainly put the home for sale wherever you want it, but at some point, I don't want you to miss the market and have to lower the price even less. So why don't we, if they're really adamant about it, why don't we put the home up on the market at the price that you think you want it for 2 to 3 weeks, right? If nothing happens, then sign this right here saying you're going to drop the price to the price we suggest. And hopefully it's still the same price that we're suggesting 3 weeks in, right? And that's how typically we go with somebody who really wants to keep the price that they want, regardless of what we're saying and regardless of what the data is saying as well. So how do you do it, Mark?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too. And it actually reminded me, and I want to share this with everyone. The way that I go about it is very, very similar. My approach to them is like this. And it kind of stems from the beginning of what we talked about. I say, let's try it your way. I want to make sure that you're happy. I want to make sure that you feel comfortable. Here's what I suggest. But at the end of the day, you're hiring me. I support you. Let's try it your way. But if it doesn't work out, it's nothing that you did, nothing that I did, nothing in the advertising, nothing about that. It's only because the market doesn't want to pay what you're asking. And if that's the case, then let's open up the conversation for a price reduction, probably somewhere around where you and I discussed today. And that's the original price that I came up with for the comps, right? And that way, it really opens up the conversation later down the line if it needs to happen. And it's not like a heavy blow. It's more like, hey, Mark said this. Mark knows what he's doing. Let's do it.
All right, how about you, Robert? What do you think, man?
Oh man, you guys are the experts, but that's exactly what you do. I mean, that's ultimately why it expired in the first place. One of the biggest reasons, right? And I think interviewing the owner to help to have them come to a conclusion of why it expired, as opposed to you telling them. So like, hey,
Yeah,
you know, why do you think your last realtor didn't sell the house? What are some things you think that they did that made it so that it didn't sell at the price that you wanted? And, you know, they're going to tell you a few things, but maybe they're going to tell you, you know what, I think maybe we priced it a little bit high. Okay, well, why do you think that? And so I think interviewing them as you're walking through it, and it's also, then it starts giving you a checklist too of like, oh, they didn't like the photos. They thought the photos could have been better. And then you say, okay, here are some things I'm going to do for you. And I'm going to make sure that we address those pain points, those areas that you felt didn't go well last time. So I think getting the owner and potential listing to kind of help you, guide you to where you're going. But you guys are the experts. You know what.
Well, that's a good point, because when we're calling expireds, one of the things that happens is they end up saying something like, when you ask those questions, they're like, oh, well, look, we priced it right, we did this, and you know the price is off.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is be like, well, no, Robert, you actually didn't price it right. Here's my stat. Let me show you. And then you get into an argument over the phone. It's like,
yeah.
That's not where you want to bring up your stats.
No. You just want to gather data first, right?
Yeah.
You just have them tell you where you want to go, and then you'll know when you meet with them what you can do to help them out. Yeah. Hey, really before we run out of time, I wanted to tell the audience something real important that we're doing at RedX. Sure. And so we've got, of course, it's been posted in the chat that LCA offers the wave setup fee. Also, we just sent out an email this morning, this exact idea of, we've got more expireds on the market. You can serve your for sale by owners better than you have. And the market is shifting. So we want to help everybody, especially this summer while things are shifting. And so we're offering both some special pricing and special training for anyone who signs up this week. And you call in by phone. I just put it in there. You call 800-731-7339, but subscribe to any RedX product. So even if you're a current, if you're a current customer of RedX and you get a new product, you pay for 2 months, you get the third month for free. So over these 90 days, you'll have the opportunity to try out any RedX products you want at a reduced cost. And you're going to get some special trainings from our VP of Sales, Tyler Fenn. You met Tyler. You're going to get some habit training from Andy Rosas. You met Andy, and we had him on the show last week. He's just full of energy. And you get a weekly check-in with live prospecting and Q&A from Kent Brown, someone else that you've met, Tristan.
Oh, no way,
All of
dude.
that we'll go over through August. You'll get a weekly check-in with him, additional trainings from our VP of Sales and Andy Rosas, all for anybody who buys this week and gets a discount. So we see the shifting market. You see the shifting market. It's a little bit different by region, and this is our way of saying, hey, let's jump in and tackle this together. Let's sharpen that saw, get the skills we need right now through the right tools and the right training, and then just kill it this fall. We'll kill it this summer and in the fall. So
I'm putting up that link inside of LabCoats right now.
okay, all right, great.
There it is. Perfect.
I put it on our Zoom, and it looks like Jake's going to get it out to Facebook.
Just put it everywhere.
Put it
Just put it everywhere.
Give us a call, and it's already been pretty busy this morning because we did send out an email to some of our audiences, but call in. Might have a wait for a minute or two, but we'll get you hooked up, and yeah, let's tackle this whole thing together, and then just keep watching the LabCoats trainings as well, because that's where I'm getting all my info right now.
Dude,
I read something and I go, no, I need to see what Tristan has to say.
You're funny. You're funny. And then I do the same thing for you. I'm like, what was wrong with you? Hold on. And then it's a circle, dude.
Yeah, there we go.
We're screwed. We're screwed, Robert. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate you, man. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
Of course,
guys.
always.
Great
Thanks,
being on.
everybody.
Talk to you later.
Later.